Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 50th episode of Cultist Simulator the Dancer DLC. I'm not quite sure why that health wound up there, but... oh dear. Okay, we're ready to go. We're studying the histories. Now again, this is a bit of a flyer that I think the erudition is going to be gone, but hopefully the lesson learnt will last long enough. And if we blew it, we blew it. We're currently working through Foxlily Meadows. We actually got through the high passes, so Frostguard and Shivering, we've made it through the mountains. This means we'll add a skin twister next for the Watchers. We've already added the money, and then a heart follower for the curse. As for the rest of it, we'll roll with what the game gives us. So we do have a fascination, but I should have a fleeting reminiscence before the event triggers, so I don't need to worry too much about that. And I think we were working on, yes, a lantern commission. Good luck on the notoriety. Alright, so I don't think we have any hope of getting a secret histories from the Painted River, but although, yeah, let's give this a shot. Oh, well, that shows what I know. Forbidden Epic. There's a great chamber in the Mansis through which a painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. So we'll be able to combine... I guess we'll have 4 now, so I'm going to probably want one more to make sure that I have one of each. Either way, we've got some more material for upgrading secret histories when we need it, but we're going to start getting rid of the fascination. So again, we'll take advantage of the fact that fleeting reminiscences work for that now. The doors of vision swing wide. A little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. Wisdom is a country, and these are its maps. Solve all the challenges on both fragments. To complete your research task, you can return to a task later if you fail. So, actually, it looks like we will be able to add the erudition as long as I'm quick enough. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. And we can get a commission from Madame Bichet in just a second. So, optimism is the spice which saves. And lucky us, we got the Course of the Heart. Whenever the principle of heart is implicated, I may gain vitality. So, let's get a commission from Madame Bichet. These are helpful, and we are sort of on a cycle of being able to do a trip to the Gaiety, trip to the study, trip to the Gaiety, trip to the study. She's seeking pieces for the notorious Carisham Review. Count Jannings will be next, obviously. Alright, this is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. So this was one for erudition. Now that probably means bad things for the glimmering. But we've been here before, so I'll find a way through it. Season of Suspicion coming up, so good luck for us on getting rid of the notoriety when we did. I'm not quite sure how the timing's going to work out. I suspect we might get hit by this expedition. We'll worry about that at the time. Let's have a chat with... I think we'll go with Jannings, and then... yeah, you know what? A chat with Jannings, Bichet, and Adim, and then maybe we will actually try to get rid of some of the reputation here to make the investigation last for a shorter period of time. Against the Watchers, a powerful deception. Look closer, closer still. Closer, keep looking, closer. Now close your eyes. And finish the manuscript. Okay, so that's going to be one for Dr. Adim. We get the chat. I guess we can turn that in right now, so again, that's going to potentially extend the life of the investigation at a time I don't necessarily want it, but I'm going to hand it in anyway. The stage awaits hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, I'll paint it. Here's what he needs. Okay. So, like I said, we'll chat with Dr. Adim about this. I have what the doctor requested. And let's... We'll add Leo. My own heart pumps more strongly today. So, I suppose the question is, do I want to go back to the Stag Door, or do I want to make an effort on the Spider's Door? I think we'll head to the Stag Door again. So, we use reason for the ascent. The Stag Door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated in the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. And I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So I suppose there's the erudition if I needed it. Of course, what we need now is glimmering, so... let's talk to another heart follower. Who do we have? I almost added Madame Bichet for some strange reason. Or my heart people. Hey, there's... Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. There it is. Is that it? So 24 seconds left. Yes, the glimmering will be gone unless I do some kind of intervention, and generally I like to avoid that. Their bewilderment is our opportunity. We'll pass in silent secrecy. So we know that we're going to get past the curse no matter what. However, the curse may have a nasty surprise waiting for me on the back end. Okay. Moth finds light in the dark, and so do I. So it looks like we didn't have an opportunity to show our stuff. Fair enough. I am going to move on to a commission, so let's work with Moth. Moth will be more likely to get me, or I would have thought it would anyway. This may be useful for a commission. Passion, although, or glimmering, but of course I'm going to need to find it within 20 seconds. Right, or a sanctuary. I was thinking, like, oh, hang on, could I put a fleeting reminiscence inside because of the moth? But it's not the right way to think about it. Okay, so we'll just let the timer run out in the study. It was we took a shot. It didn't turn out, but I don't feel too bad about it. So, yeah, I am feeling pretty nervous about our ability to get rid of the mystique in time. There's a great chamber in the mansis through which the painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly, there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. So for some reason I thought I had an odd number. Oh right, because we're gonna upgrade those. Now, what could I be if I could be not this? The moth comes in just at the last second. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in the corners of scholarship. Sorry, I just gotta clear everything out. Okay, again, we won't go to the Spider's Door, although there are some things that I can do to make that a little more attractive. We are, however, going to go back to the Stag Door. The standards of Daylight Society cannot apply to us, but perhaps we won't emphasize that point. Perhaps we'll rely on charm and good humor. I have supplied elegant platitudes about the high principles of our organization. There it is. Is that it? We are strong enough in heart to be almost entirely secure against the curse. So we'll see whether or not the fifth eye consumes me. And I finished the manuscript, another moth event, so old and happy far off things. Moth finds light in the dark, and so do I. So we will need to deal with that, but we should have a few options available to us. Back to the gaiety, the stage awaits, hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do it as required, they'll pay me. So I can turn in with Madame Bichet, but I'm going to take a bit of a flyer here and see if we can clear out this mystique in time. So in 60 seconds. Yeah, so the mystique's going to get picked up by the weary detective. Overall, I actually think, yeah, I don't think triggering Clovette at this time is going to help me with the notoriety, but I'll commit to it. I've been wrong before, so I figure committing to it's probably more informative than anything. The curse shrivels. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. So we might get lucky if we get a chance to show our stuff at the Gaiety, and the restlessness can be an input there. If not, I have the option of painting. The painted river runs from a great chamber near the White Door, far through the manses, to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind, and all the while the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. Alright, a half-glimpse wistfulness has touched me. So, we've got a restlessness here. We'll see what happens in 13 seconds. Not much else for me to do with Dream, though, so I think I'm just going to head straight back to the Stag Door. It's probably a little more useful for influence for the next little while, but we'll see what happens. I've increased my knowledge of the secret histories behind the one we know. So, in order to upgrade Forbidden Epic, it's the same inputs, so intuition and erudition, and then unresolved ambiguity. So in the Mansis, the hours strive against one another. As the struggles are resolved, they iron out the impossible, exalt the possible, tie the fraying braids of what has been into one golden ribbon of future. Everything is resolved. History becomes the past. There are, however, exceptions. So this gives us locations in the Rending Mountains, but more importantly, there's an important piece of information that we get from the unresolved ambiguity, and that is the last challenge that we'll need in order to upgrade certain types of lore. So, illumination, water fills the cup, light fills the mind. To upgrade or subvert this fragment, you will need fascination, which might breed, an HQ with a library, or the rarefied mind skill. Then there's knowledge, so this is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. To upgrade or subvert this fragment, you'll need erudition or an HQ with a library. And then finally glimmering, or intuition, which we know requires glimmering. With time and peace, answers sometimes come unannounced. To upgrade or subvert this fragment, you'll need glimmerings or an HQ with a sanctuary. So my usual feeling on this, and again, I could have gone to this headquarters earlier if I wanted, but if you put a lot of value on secret histories, in my own view, the fact that upgrades for the secret histories require illumination at their highest level makes the library, which is Moorland's, I think this is a pretty strong argument for it. And in fact, you can, if you know that you're going to want to work pretty heavily on upgrading your secret histories, I think in this case here you can make a pretty strong argument for going for an earlier headquarters switch to the library, simply because it means that all you really need to focus on generating are glimmerings, right? So if you happen to have a fascination lying around, or you're otherwise not, you've otherwise dealt with the illumination requirement, or you're going for a lower level lore, you at least do not need to generate erudition, and you can instead focus on the generation of glimmerings, which just means that you have a little more reliability on your secret histories. And my view on that is just, once you sort of average everything out, once you take into account all of the attempts to upgrade fragments, it just means the time that you're spending on those upgrades are faster. Now, as you'll notice, for my own case, I seem to generate a lot of erudition, and it's the glimmering that's short anyway, so my behavior wouldn't really have changed all that much. But this is one of these cases, maybe I don't want to focus on secret histories, but this would definitely be a good argument for me to consider moving to Moorlands. And then, of course, I always have the option of moving away once I have achieved what I wanted from it. Although I will confess, for the majority of cases, if I move headquarters at all, it's usually just to the library. Anyways, so I have a couple of options. If I want, I can try and upgrade a Forbidden Epic. Now that's going to assume that I generate glimmering through some method. Alternatively, I can work on the books that I have. And honestly, I do prefer working with the books. Foxlily Meadows isn't necessarily going to be getting me any, I think I'm always a little weary of the statement on the repeatable locations giving books, because I now actually run into the case where I have gotten a book from a repeatable location. And if you want to be like precise on those kinds of claims, you can always just check the decks. In theory, those decks can change between patches, but honestly, the game's been out long enough that I suspect probably that's not going to change all that much. But certainly my own anecdotal experience was I had not, quite literally had not gotten a book from once the rewards for most locations were fixed, it had been quite literally years without seeing a book from those kinds of locations. So, I suppose someone can make a Black Swan example out of that, but I think it's one of these ones where I don't think it's in terms of behaviors, I don't think it's unreasonable to treat it as if you're not getting books. The main thing I'm trying to think about here is how am I going to be using my study verb while I prepare for visits to the Rending Mountains. And in this particular case here, not only is it a good idea for me to get through the books that I already have, because they're going to be the last batch of things that I can... They're basically going to set the power level for the next little while, so if I'm relying on particularly powerful lore, it either needs to come from those 4 books, or I need to find another way of getting what I need from that lore. But the other simple fact is that once I clear this out of the way, there's nothing I can do with the study verb other than upgrade secret histories, which is of course going to be aligned with the goal of doing as many tasks as I can in the higher level locations. That was a lot of words to say something that was actually very simple, so let's read the 26 enticements, 7 torments. The painter, Niels Frederick Malsker, notoriously attempted a series of paintings based on the torments. By the 5th torment, the demands of the painting had grown so dire that he died of blood loss. The diagrams in this text are thankfully less detailed. The enticements of the Grail outnumber its torments, but its torments are its final nature. Birth is the 1st torment, and thirst the 7th. Okay, lucky me. I'm a listen package of flesh and blood. Tonight, they'll notice that. So I've got 55 seconds. I think in this case here, it's pretty clear we're going to wind up with... No, actually, maybe we won't, now that I think of it. I felt all their eyes upon me. Afterwards, I received a gift from an admirer. Too gaudy for my tastes, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. Okay, so let's work on the Edge Commission. May be useful. Okay, so 26 seconds, that's not going to help me at all. We've dipped claws in ammonia and bound them around our faces to deaden the Foxlily scent. Even so, our heads swim, our bodies respond to a half-dozen contradictory desires. Here are the bones we sought. Loot them and get out. Oh, we had a season of... Right. Well, that's fine, because we've got a fleeting reminiscence that will deal with it. The Stag Door is the Adept's sorry. Did I skip? Yeah, sorry, I skipped the text. My apologies. So, unfortunately, we're going to get hit. So I think in 8.1 seconds we generate a notoriety. There's no way to take up the notoriety, and so the Worry Detective is going to claim it. So in this case, we'll just acknowledge the problem. Actually, if anything, we'll just kind of extend the life. Yeah, actually, there is a way we might be able to wriggle out of this. So we will talk with Madame Bichet. I have what was requested. Dreamwise, let's go back through the Stag Door. And through the enumeration of the Grail's enticements and torments winds the sorrowful history of the witches of the dry land, the ordeal of birth from 2 wombs, their struggle from and supplication of the Grail, the yearning for union which drives them all. So we got some dread for that, and the Formula Voluptuous, which is a higher level Grail than we've had before. There exist some pleasures intense enough to corrupt the laws of the physical world, and this formula can be used in a rite with bitter black salts and subtle rupture or similar sources of power to summon Azim itself. Alright, on to the Gospel of Zacchaeus, an extremely heterodox account of the Nazarene Messiah and his works, describing his ascension to the mansus through the opening of his body. 7 were the wounds of his body, 7 the doors of the house, 7 the lesser aspects of the hours, and Knock, the aspect above all, for the mother of ants is the mother of salvation. I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So there's a glimmering if I want to make use of it. More importantly, we have a mystique, so if we want to try and grab the notoriety, now is the time. Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciples can probably smooth them over. So, 55 seconds for Dorothy to pick up the reputation that's going to generate from the expedition, but 51 seconds before the weary detective winds up going after for their next reputation. So it's a small window, but there is the possibility we might be able to give them the slip. Stage awaits, hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. So as I'm talking about not getting books, so there's guard sides. Hues surrendered. Up in the mountains waits Carpellus, the flower maker's name, crushing the scent from the flowers with the weight of his self, as he will crush the changes from my fox self, like new wine from grapes. Sorry, let's try that one more time, because I keep forgetting. Yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting that there are multiple lines. So we've got the entries. So first, the fox lilies are white as cave skin, white as frost, white as unsullied sheets. It's hard to look away. We will close our eyes and struggle away with our treasures. However, we've also done a dance. So the Lily King's name. Hues surrendered. Up in the mountains waits Carpellus, the flower maker's name, crushing the scent from the flowers with the weight of his self, as he will crush the changes from my fox self, like new wine from grapes. So we have libidic grains. Labites are the youngest of the lionsmith's servants. When rendered to powder, they retain their potency, but not their beauty. So this I'm going to have to put in the overflow. Refulgin, a white so pure that it remains visible even in utter darkness. Now this is a pigment, so I can put that up here. And there we go. Came to the flowers the flower maker made, and that is what I became. He keeps my colors for me now. Good work, Valsine. I don't know where I'm going to put all these people. So I could explore for a location in the Rending Mountains, but there are some other things that I want to do right now. So let's get... Probably going to need to resummon the Callagine. I'm going to get the Percussigan searching because it has... This is a little counterintuitive that I'm taking the older of the two and letting it decay, but that's mostly just because I figure I'm more likely to resummon it, so I'll do what I can to preserve the Percussigan. Okay, so 17 seconds before the notoriety gets picked up. Help us with the knock, but Gearby was weeping again. I scooped up his molten tears in my cupped palm. In the dream, my skin peeled and blistered, but only in the dream. So there is a plan behind this. The book includes a description of a rite which can be used to raise a corpse to half-life in memory of he who bled for the wood. It requires a corpse and sufficient power. The author suggests an invocation of winter lore and an assistant touched by the powers of wood. So we've got the consent of wounds and the rite of the mother's mercy, which I believe we already had, yes. Okay, so there's a few things that we want to try and accomplish here. First thing is to go through the remaining books. So we'll translate The Sky, the Soul, as well as the account of Kanishkat the Spider's Door. So we'll start with our Aramaic and move up. So the grand labor of Cal, an ascetic poet writing at the court of the shadowless kings. Study door, the work begins. Now, as always, I want to just take a second and think about what I'm doing with the dream slot, because there are a few paths that I can take here. I think for the time being, I am still going to go back through the Stag Door. I've got the influence that I needed for resummoning the... Well, actually, honestly, any influence would have worked here. But I can work with resummoning the Callagine. Actually, come to think of it, this may be a little harder than I thought, because I already have the forge that I need from the Callagine. It's the winter that I need, and if I'm... Yeah, actually, this isn't going to resummon the Callagine now that I think of it. I can get a replacement, but this isn't going to be sufficient for resummoning it. So yeah, this is definitely something I'm going to redo. So I'll give you an example of the problem. And a listen package of flesh and blood. Tonight they'll notice that. Alright. Percussicant loves going to streets strange by moonlight. Just as an example of what I was talking about before, so we've got 1 minute to save ourselves. In 26 seconds, we're going to see whether or not Dorothy is successful in getting rid of the reputation. But in essence here, the idea was I needed one thing to pull the notoriety away. I could have done that with painting, but that just kind of kicks the can down the road. In this case here, if the notoriety is destroyed, we're safe. And that was sort of the benefit of getting that mystique to help sort of draw things out. Every once in a while I am capable of cleverness in this game, but usually I'll follow it up with something awful to balance it all out. I felt other eyes upon me. Afterwards I received a gift from an admirer, too gaudy for my tastes, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. So, I'll give you an example of what I was talking about with the Callagine. So let's do, we'll say there's two goals here. One is to not give up the Callagine. So in this case, we're not going to use the Rite of the Crucible Soul because there's a possibility that we can lose it. And so in this case, we want any influence. That could include erudition. So we'll take our Sunset Rite. We'll add the Trembling Heat. Obviously, we want to add the Callagine. Now for this, we're going to need Knock. The problem is that the Callagine requires Winter. So one way that we could still use this influence is we take our offering, let's bring in Neville as an assistant, and then we take the invocation of the Ivory Dove, summon a creature of smoky deception, forge for the smoky spirit summoning, winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. I'm going to do this here because in the end we can sacrifice the Callagine or otherwise use it for other purposes. With 80 seconds to go, we have a lot of options. Alright, I found someone who I might pay to enact regrettable necessities. So we've got a hulking fellow who gets the job done. Let's pay them. And another season of suspicion coming up, sadly. I'm alone, but there's peace in that also. And mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I'm sane if that means anything. And Dorothy did destroy the evidence, so in 25 seconds we're safe. And I think it may take... I can't remember if it'll... I think we're actually going to avoid that season of suspicion because of the time it will take the wary detective to move on. So I'll talk with the Callagine for a little bit. It's just because I don't want to provoke any problems by turning in the commission here. I should talk with Dr. Adim for a new one, but because we're doing the summoning, I have some time before I'm going to need to do a commission anyway. Okay. painted river runs from a great chamber near the White Door, far through the Mansus, to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind, and all the while the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. And we have finished our translation, so it looks like it's still the same text as before. So I'll at least start the translation for the account of Kanishk at the Spider's Door. Cowley, Kanishk's victim and lover, wrote this account, perhaps posthumously. And the reason I'm hiring the hulking fellow is I will have a sacrifice for the Spider's Door, but we're not quite ready. Oops. Not quite ready to... we are not quite ready to use it yet, so I'm going to leave it there. But that is it for me tonight. I will be back tomorrow, but until then I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will see you in the next one.